Hey guys, what's going on? It's Dimer here, and in today's video, I'll be showing you guys how to QB in Ultimate Football and in Football Fusion. Let's get right into the video. So the first thing I'm going to go over is some don'ts that you shouldn't do in Ultimate Football and Football Fusion, and this applies to both because they're both the same game. I'm just using the Ultimate Football practice area, and yeah, basically one of the biggest don'ts in Ultimate Football / Football Fusion is you don't want to QB in first person. If you QB in first person, you just make it so much harder on yourself. A lot of people, you might have this habit right now, but I promise you, if you get better at not QBing in first person, you'll be a lot better at the game. Do not QB in first person. Do not QB in shift lock, especially in Ultimate Football, because your character's already locked anyways, so it doesn't matter. You don't need to shift lock. I don't know what shift locking does for you other than manual spin, which why would you care? You can shift lock after you run or something. That's cool, but shift locking while you're QBing, it just makes no sense to me. Now, the next thing and the final thing I'm going to talk about, just the don'ts that you shouldn't do, is please, if you don't have to, try not to run. This is a pretty big one, actually. Try not to run back every single time you hike the ball. You don't have to, especially if nobody's rushing you. You don't have to run straight back. If you're closer to the line of scrimmage, the ball has to travel less air, or has to travel less distance, and it just makes it so much easier to throw the dimes because the ball travels a shorter field. You know what I'm saying? So you don't have to run back to the end zone every single time you hike the ball. If someone's rushing you and you can't evade them, obviously you can run straight back if you want to. But now that I got the biggest tips out the way, the don'ts, basically the do not do's, now the things that you should do when you're QBing. These are the important things, especially if you're new to QBing in Ultimate Football / Football Fusion, is you notice that a lot of people that QB, you might notice that they jump when they throw. Not on slants, but anytime you see them throw a pass, they jump when they throw. That's because the ball goes farther. They have a higher peak when they throw the ball, so the ball has a better arc. It's just, the mechanic wise, I don't understand it the best, but I know that you should jump. You should jump when you throw. I'm pretty sure the ball goes farther, it changes, and you also want to make sure you throw at your peak, so you're throwing it at the same single time every single time that you throw, and it's not different. If you throw it at a different every single time, at a different point at your jump every single time, it'll change up the trajectory of the ball, which is really weird. And so just make sure you're throwing at your peak every single time, except when you're slanting. When you're slanting, you don't want to jump. Do not jump. Do not get used to jumping when you're slanting. There's no point doing it. The main aspect, by the way, of slanting, I'll go over that in a bit, but don't jump when you do slants. Now, another tip I would try to definitely get you to do is make sure that you learn 100 power, or 95 if you're in Football Fusion. But basically, learning the max power can definitely improve your way of learning the ball's gravity. Just because if you're throwing on 75 or 80 or 85, especially if you're new to the game, it's really difficult actually, because you're not gonna learn the ball that well if you're just learning, if you're switching between powers every time. Now this might help some people, so if it is helping you, or if you do that way, that's fine. But I'm talking about for newer players, I would definitely suggest learning 100 power first and learning how far the ball travels every single time, and then you can kind of get a feel for what 80 might do, because it's 80%, right? It's 80% of the 100 powers. So you would just kind of learn it based off that. That's what I do. I don't use other powers that often anyways, but everybody knows me for being a bullet QB anyways. But if you're trying to throw these high arcing dimes, basically learn 100 power first, and I promise it will make it easier for you to learn those little lob dimes that you like to see everybody do and you might try to do yourself. And the main thing for passing, this is where everybody's going to talk about passing, right? This is the hardest thing everybody talks about, and it's all basically, you want to use the top of your screen. You always want to use the top of your screen. All right, the main thing that I want to do is I want to highlight on my screen right now the main area that you want to aim when you throw. This excludes slants, by the way. Slants are always side to side, and you always just aim at the arm. But really, I wanted to highlight that main area on your screen where you're going to throw the ball. Sometimes, mainly it's going to be right here. This is the main area because you're going to always hold right click and throw. Sometimes it will be across the field, or sometimes you won't be looking and you'll throw it across the screen like that. But the main focus is what I'm highlighting right now. I'll highlight it in red, and then the green will be what you can throw, and then the red will be the main area you want to throw in, which is always the top-ish middle of your screen. The reason for that is just it's the most consistent, and once you get that down and once you consistently aim in that area, it's a lot easier to know where the ball is going to go and learn the trajectory of the ball. So that's just what I wanted to put in there real quick. for longer passes, you always kind of want to use the top of your screen. And if you're QBing on keyboard mouse, this is the easiest way to QB actually. Holding your right click, you can move your camera when you throw. So when you jump click, when you throw, it'll be a lot easier. I was looking at the camera when I did that, but when you jump throw, it'll be a lot easier. But for controller and mobile, I don't really have that many tips for you, but still everything still applies up until that point. But for this, for keyboard and mouse, that is the biggest tip for you, is holding right click. If you're struggling to throw deep, the biggest tip that I can give you, especially if you're struggling to throw dimes, is to actually throw shorter passes, and then slowly walk back farther when you're throwing the shorter passes, so you can get used to throwing farther distances. Now this does go against what I said earlier, but if you're trying to learn how to throw the ball deeper, running back does help it because it increases the distance that you're throwing, and you can get used to throwing those longer distances. If you're still struggling, like if you're overthrowing or underthrowing, just keep in mind you'd rather always overthrow your receiver than underthrow, unless it's like a toss situation where like you need this catch to win the game. You know what I mean? Like you always would rather overthrow than underthrow because you don't want it to be a turnover. You don't want to give the DB a chance to get the ball. So just keep that in mind when you're throwing these passes, especially deep ones. Now, a big tip I can give you to learn how to QB faster is you could watch either my videos, you could watch Juicy John, or any other Ultimate Football Fusion creator. You can watch their videos and emulate how they QB. Basically, whatever style that you want to go for, you could find most of the creators online and figure out how they QB and just emulate how they play. A lot of people have told me that they learned how to QB based on my videos, and I think that's true because I used to be a first-person QB. If you go back all the way to my first videos on my channel, go look at my first montages on New Football Legends, like in 2016, 2017, you could see I was a first-person quarterback. I was terrible compared to now. Like, I was garbage. But you got to go through and learn yourself how you want to QB. And over time, you just learn how to QB a different way. And you learn how everybody slowly adjusts to third-person QB without shift lock and without first person. This is the wave to go. Now for mobile and shift lock, you can QB how you want to QB in those regards, because I know it is a lot more difficult for you guys. So don't take first person shift lock to the heart when I say don't do those. Those are for PC. You have no reason, if you're on PC and keyboard and mouse, to QB in first person and to QB in shift lock. You have no reason. For mobile and controller, you definitely have a reason, because that is literally how you have to QB in some of those scenarios. So I will not blame you if you're on controller or mobile. And then the last thing I can give you, the last thing I could say, is just keep practicing until you get better. Like, you might be like, oh man, like, this is hard, but like, at the end of the day, if you keep trying it, even if it's in public servers or wherever you play, like, just keep practicing. You're gonna get better. It's not the most difficult thing in the world to be a decent QB in Ultimate Football or Football Fusion. It just takes learning the game. A lot of people overcomplicate things and try to make it to where you have to be super perfect and accurate on every single throw, but that's not the case. The only case is that is league players. They sweat the game, play the game 27,000 hours a day. Just keep practicing in Publix and keep practicing with your friends, and just have fun at the end of the day. It's all just a game, you know. Hopefully these tips helped you. If you guys do have any extra questions, by the way, if you have any type of situation scenarios or anything that you want tips on, you can comment them down below, and I will be trying to respond to most of them. And if this video is like 8 months old or however old by the time you do get to this, I might still respond to comments. I don't know, but yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you guys did, make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.